All right, welcome to the OpenBazaar dev call for June 13th, everyone. As I said earlier, this is Josh Jeffries from the OpenBazaar team. I'm the lead UI developer. We also have Mike, who is on the back end, and Jen, who handles all of these public-facing things for us.
Hello.
Say hi, guys. And we also have Brian. Hey, Brian, say hi.
He is not mic'd.
He's not mic'd. All right, Brian, the esteemed leader of Obi-Wan. So today, our update is primarily focused on two areas. The backend server has had some very significant fixes applied to it, which will be going live soon. And of course, there's Haven, our new mobile app, which is on the very edge of going public. We're very excited about that. The desktop client doesn't really have any changes, so we don't need to spend much time on that. That's been kind of in maintenance mode while we focus on the mobile stuff. So Mike G, can you start us off with giving us an overview of the fixes to the back end, since those affect all other projects?
Yes, sure, I can do that. So this is Mike Greenberg. I primarily organize the backend code for OpenBazaar. We have been chasing some kindling and publishing challenges on our network since the most recent release. They surface as publishing failed, being reported in the UI, and the logs indicating that name publishing has failed. This has actually turned out to be the culmination of a couple of different challenges. One being a recent upgrade to our IPFS codebase, which required some key changes in our backend handling. Some infrastructure changes, which we have been making improvements on. Everyone will note that the recent release that we had included some significantly faster network lookups, and that was due to some infrastructure additions that we have added to our content resolution or content resolving behavior that's on our backend. And some other minor changes with that previous release, which created a perfect storm for this bug that has been eluding us for some weeks. We think we have a fix that's prepared, and we're exploring a release that should come out as 2.3.4, hopefully in the next week or so. It shouldn't take too long, since this is just going to be focused on fixing some of these bugs that we have and not focused too strongly on new features. That is the primary focus of this fix, of this particular release, but there are some additional fixes. We have been preparing to retool the way that we handle our key lookups for our users. IPFS, which is the underlying transport and communications layer that we use underneath OpenBazaar, is going to be using something called inline keys for their peer IDs, and without getting too much into the technical details of that, it involves containing the key that you use to sign cryptographically all of your content as part of your peer ID. And currently OpenBazaar does not make use of this, which results in an additional network lookup of this key for all of these peers that are on the network, which creates additional lag and time in resolving content on the network. And if we can get to the point that the peer ID itself contains the key, it would reduce this additional network lookup and allow for even faster network resolution. So we're preparing to get to the point that we can transition to these inline keys. And as a result of that, there's been some key handling logic that we included in our past release that has some additional bugs that we're going to be releasing in this. And there's also going to be some minor fixes with the multi-wallet handling for the API failure cases, where the multi-wallet will be rotating on bad nodes or bad API requests due to the infrastructure being upgraded or changes happening in the network, which are normal behavior for our infrastructure. We want our infrastructure to be resilient, but in the face of that, the client shouldn't necessarily cause things like blocking the daemon from being able to shut down or being able to continue processing certain transactions. So we're trying to firm up the MOPS-1 a little bit so it's not quite so, I guess, possessive of the daemon's resource locks when trying to shut down. So we're going to try and get those fixes into a release that everyone can get their hands on and begin using. And hopefully this will improve a lot of our publishing challenges that many people were experiencing. This will not necessarily fix the message deliverability challenges that we've been experiencing, but this will go a long way to make sure that messages that were being undeliverable due to the fact that they couldn't be sent to the network, it will certainly fix those challenges. We do have some other fixes that we're working on in the meantime, which will not be part of this release, that will likely be included in the release coming after that. I know that we've alluded to talking about releasing Ethereum support and precision work and everything that we've been working on there. And we should expect some additional message improvements to be included in that release when they come along. And we'll talk more about that probably as we get closer to what those improvements look like once we're closer to that release. And that's the gist of what we've been working on back end, Josh.
Thank you, Mike. And it is worth giving a little more detail on the Ethereum work. That's been continuing in parallel to our other work. Obviously, integrating Ethereum is a very large task, so it is taking a while, and we want to make sure it's absolutely rock solid before we expose it to the public. But that will be the next major release of OpenBazaar, and we're all looking forward to that, quite a bit. But just stay tuned. No news yet on that. Everyone will know there'll be trumpets blaring when it finally comes out. Is it worth mentioning some of our infrastructure updates, Mike G? I know we don't have any infrastructure guys on the call.
No, I'm happy to go over that. It's kind of a lot of effort that's going on in the background, and it's worth mentioning since we've launched 2.3 and have been using our infrastructure to support all of our wallet behavior. This is a huge undertaking by our very small team, and to our infrastructure team's credit, Tyler and Stevie, who are responsible for maintaining all of this and keeping it, purring strongly from day to day. There are some automation steps that still need to be completed, and that's kind of what we've been working towards over the past weeks. Those that are familiar with Zcash and Bitcoin Cash understand that there are regularly scheduled network updates, consensus rules that happen to change from release to release that need to be considered for our infrastructure as well as our client. And to our infrastructure's credit, they've been working towards making these upgrades automatic so that we don't necessarily have to manually intervene when these nodes need to be updated, and that they can happen more in the background without impacting our clients. So there's effort going towards that, as well as migrating some of our legacy infrastructure. We used to independently manage a lot of our nodes using individual virtual machines on DigitalOcean, and we've been consolidating a lot of that into Terraform and AWS and taking advantage of a more professional cloud infrastructure to support our OpenBazaar network wallet processes. So despite the automated upgrade steps that are being done, there's also a lot of work that's being done, like refactoring the code that handles that and making sure that the processes that we use to manage those updates don't interfere with production live network processes.
Yeah, thank you, Mike. There's just so many improvements going on with the infrastructure. A few others We're moving to relay nodes, getting those working. We're improving the expiration of nodes in the search to cut down on the frustration of finding something in search that you can no longer reach. Just top to bottom, everything is getting better and better on the infrastructure. All right, but that wraps up our updates for the back end. I would like to talk now about Haven, which has been our well, it was almost done, but Rod jumps in with a question at the last second. Can we talk about the relay servers? MG, can you talk about that?
Sure. So the relay servers that we're putting out are primarily to support our mobile users in anticipation of the impending Haven launch. Our mobile clients typically have a lot of trouble accepting incoming connections. And so the idea is that these mobile clients would be able to announce themselves using their NATed IP, for example, the IP that they would not be able to accept incoming connections on. And when they announce themselves using those IPs, they will include the fact that they'd like to be reached through the P2P circuit. And essentially what that is a relay circuit that some infrastructure can support. And what those nodes will do is they'll connect to this infrastructure and leave a long-lived connection on this infrastructure so that others who are trying to reach them will be able to relay their inbound messages through those relay servers. So the idea would be that the mobile user would announce themselves at a public location via this relay server or a relay cloud service. And when someone finds them in the swarm and wants to connect to them, they'll see that they're using this P2P circuit and announce their encrypted message through this circuit, which will be relayed to the end user using their already open connection. And so this will allow basically incoming connections to occur when they otherwise would not have been able to, which will remove the need for them to pull their messages from offline, which will basically make communications with these nodes more or less instantaneous. Whereas before it would take as much as 10 minutes to deliver a message through the DHT to these offline or perceived to be offline users.
And it's not just for mobile. I mean, this will eventually help all nodes that have trouble connecting to other nodes.
Yes, that's absolutely correct. So I don't know exactly how we're going to make relay capabilities available to our less connected desktop nodes, but any of our vanilla desktop users that would like to modify manually their swarm announcements to use the relay, they'd be able to take advantage of them. And at some point in the future, this will be something that we might expose to the UI so that users can find out that they are poorly connected to the network and have some recourse to be able to resolve that.
Yeah, Rod asks if this will be open sourced. I mean, the relay, the idea, the way relay nodes work is baked into IPFS. So that's already open sourced. This is just our enabling it really on the network.
Yeah, so all of the IPFS rebases that we've been working on over the past couple of months have been working up to this enabling. The latest 0.4.19 rebase that we did was the final linchpin that allowed us to test it live on our network. There's some additional improvements, but it's all available for anyone to use whoever would like to take advantage of it.
Right. As Mike alluded to, the main thing holding us back from using it previously was, we modified the IPFS code in multiple places to work the way OpenBazaar needs it. And so when they made these improvements, we couldn't use them right away until we had adapted our changes to fit with the new IPFS code. Okay, any other questions on infrastructure or backend from anyone on the call? Okay, well, let's move on to Haven then. So we have a mobile app, which we call Haven, which is launching very soon. We're super excited about that. We're working on getting it into the Apple App Store and the Google Play Store so that people can buy and sell through the OpenBazaar network on their phones. There's not a lot I can reveal about the inner workings of that, other than it's a fully mobile client that accesses the exact same network and platform in the back end as the desktop does. And we do have a website that just went live that talks about it. And more importantly, has a sign up if you are super excited about this and want to use it. Then you can go to gethaven.app and you can sign up to be alerted as soon as it is available for download on phones. We also have a beta program, so you can reach out to us if you're interested in being added to the beta program. That will go live before the actual thing goes live in the stores. Jen, do you want to talk a little bit about the beta program and what we're looking for people who are interested in helping us there?
Yes, so we're going to be talking more about the beta program shortly here. We're going to be putting a guide on the brand new Haven website that we have just rolled out. And we're starting with people that are in our community. We're wanting to keep this pretty closed to begin with, so only looking for roughly 100 people, and then we'll see how things are going. That will be rolling out through this week. We're going to be asking people through our email list first. The first thing I'm planning to hit is sending out an email to our list of people that have expressed interest in Haven and in testing what was previously just called the OB1 mobile app. So we're going to draw from those people first, and then from you folks who are in our Slack and our Telegram. And if things are going well, we might open up a little bit wider, but keeping it pretty closed for the next little bit here. That's about all we really have to find on that. People will be invited in, and then they have a testing guide we'd like them to click through and share feedback.
Thank you, Jen. Rastislav asked about the Haven. It is multi-platform. It was actually developed in React Native, so we can compile it to iOS and Android. It is not, however, open source right now. It's currently closed. We've discussed possibly open sourcing parts of it, though that's not really an immediate plan of ours, as it's just a JavaScript client. I mean, it does the same thing as the desktop open source client does, just on mobile. So it uses the exact same backend. There isn't any change to the network or any of the inner workings of OpenBazaar. So it's really just an example of implementing a client on the protocol. Any other questions about Haven and what we're doing there? Okay, no? And you're welcome, Rastislav. So that's really what we've been focused on, is Haven getting launched and improvements to the back end. Other than that, we don't really have any other major initiatives going on right now. We've been kind of all in on Haven and then the Ethereum integration. If we don't have any other questions from our guests, we can probably wrap this up, Jen.
I think there's just one point that I would make about the fact that our Haven app is not open sourced yet. I think that the fact that we are building on this open source daemon is an important note to make, and the fact that the client is really just a thin wrapper around that. But we are cognizant of the fact that we're positioning this app as a privacy-focused app and making our users comfortable with the fact that this client is doing what it says that it does is something that we talked about on the team in the background. And we have been trying to go back and forth on finding a good way to make our users feel confident in the app being truly private. So that is something the team is talking about, and that we do want to make our users comfortable about. So I don't know that the fact that it is currently closed source is something that will necessarily remain in the future.
Yeah, that's still not been decided yet. All right. Well, thanks everyone for joining us for this call. That's all we've got for this time.